Hello guys, and welcome to a new episode of Nomadic Dmitry channel. Today we're gonna talk about software quality, and to be very precisely specific, it's who responsible for the quality of software. Well, a few years ago, if somebody would have asked me that question, I would just immediately answer, it's the QA who is responsible. I'm a QA engineer myself, and of course, if something leaks to production, some issue going on in production, I would just say, hey, that's the QA who is responsible. All the issues in production, basically it's QA, because we forgot to test something, we have made a mistake in the testing procedures or something like that. So that's like immediate answer that I would just like say, but it's not that easy basically. So let's discuss actually this is in more details. So the first question that comes to your mind when we talk about the software testing and software quality is, should developers test their own code? Because they wrote the code, and it seems like many developers, I'm not saying like everyone, but many developers say that like, come on, QA is the one to test it, and our job is just to develop the code, and just once the QA reports the bug, then we actually fix those. But the problem with this approach is that basically in many cases developers can predict the buggy areas in their software. They can know the areas where something might immediately go wrong. They might just like do some specific set of tests to understand like if this area is buggy or not. So in that sense, unit test, developers should definitely make unit tests to make a basic coverage of their own application structure, right? They need to have unit tests to test very specific functions that they have. At least that they need to do some very basic testing. Then the smoke test. I don't expect developers to execute a lot of these cases to actually verify all the areas of the application, because it's the QA job, right? But the developers should at least do some very small tests regarding to the feature they implement, just to test the basic functionality. Because the reason for that, if the app is not functioning even in this small set of scenarios, small set of test cases, what's the point of giving this to QA? QA will just like report even more bugs, and of course they're gonna find all those bugs, and it's gonna delay the process for everyone. It's gonna delay the process for QA, for the managers, for the project managers, for everyone on board, and it's not gonna be nice to anyone. So in that sense, I think that developers should at least do some very basic tests. Of course, no comprehensive testing is required, only very basic tests there. Next thing is the communication with the QA, because frequently developers do not communicate with QA well. And of course, it's a two-way process, right? QA should communicate with developers should communicate with QA, but sometimes this process is really broken, because developers may think that QA is like trying to completely destroy all their work. They're doing something very counterproductive to just destroy their work. Of course, it might be actually the reality. Some QA might just be looking bugs only for the sense of like finding bugs, like some UI bugs that are not really relevant, don't make much sense. I don't know, it's something like very small minor issues that makes no sense. But the good QA person is looking for the issues that are actually gonna make something really bad in the production, right? So in that sense, the communication with QA is a key. If there is no communication with QA, most likely the product will be bad. I mean, there's no question about that. No communication with QA, most likely there will be always some kind of broken process going on. So definitely communication with QA is important. And then another step, as I said, engineers know buggy areas of the app, and since they know buggy areas of the app, why not make QA engineers aware? I mean, some engineers might want to hide these problematic areas because they want like, can QA actually find this bug? Can they actually discover it? Because if they don't, I don't actually need to fix it, right? Some engineers think in this way, but this is wrong. This is counterproductive way of thinking, and it's not thinking about bigger picture. So if they know there's a buggy area, the good engineer, the good software developer is actually gonna ask to test this area to make sure it all works together. In this sense, again, it all comes down to the communication with QA and making them aware of those buggy areas. In case when the bug leaks to production, of course there is usually the project-wide discussion going on, like what exactly happened and how we actually allow this bug to leak to production. There should be company-wide, project-wide discussion of why is that exactly happened. So first of all, was this tested area a priority or not? For example, if it was a specific dialog that appears and the test engineer thought that this system dialog, for example, was not important, this dialog was some very low priority area to test, they probably thought, okay, we'll probably just skip it. But in that sense, of course, the software engineers might think differently about this dialog, and the project manager might think different about this dialog. They might think that's actually essential part of testing. And if it was not communicated well with QA that this is the important area to test, how the QA engineers gonna know that this is the case? There's no way, right? Testing of a specific area should be a priority if this area is very important. So all those important areas should be P1 test cases, P1 scenarios, like first priority scenarios. Those are tested and not skipped. Second thing, if QA actually lack the knowledge, for example, there is some specific API testing that needs to be performed for this feature, but since the QA thought that this feature is again not important or not really relevant, or maybe doesn't make sense to test this release, or they might thought that there's no change actually, because the change could be like backend change, right? Many QA engineers think about the front end mostly, right? Many QA engineers are focused to test the front end, and if there was no indication that they need to test this backend area as well, like how are they gonna know unless they actually look in the code? Of course, this is the problem. So it should be communicated with QA that this is an important area to test again, and this must be tested. Third thing is the lack of user studies. User studies are super important part of the process. If we don't perform user studies, there's a huge chance that something will be missed, because we don't know how exactly the user interacts with the app, how the actually users do this step by step, what exactly they perform in. If QA doesn't know that, if developers don't know that, if nobody across the board that doesn't know that, then of course it's going to be a huge problem. So this is the thing that needs to be discussed, and the user studies should be performed. Next thing is the lack of interest from either QA or Eng. This is also another problem. Sometimes QA might not care. Some people in the QA team might not be passionate about the product. They might just think, okay, I'm just gonna do my stuff today and leave. I'm not interested in the product. I'm just doing my job. I'm just executing test cases. I'm not trying to do anything more. I'm just not discovering the app. So lack of interest means this is a big problem. So we definitely need to check if QA is actually involved in all that or not. So QA should be very passionate about what they test. Another problem is, of course, the engineers. This is the flip side of the coin, right? So engineers might not care about the product, which is an even bigger deal. If engineers don't care about that, well, it's gonna be serious problem. They should be passionate about that, interested in the product, and ready to discover more, find issues. This is actually very important part. Again, bad communication process. I've already said that how it's important to have a communication flow in between QA engineers, designers, UX team, like everyone on board, project managers. But sometimes the communication is broken, or another problem is that sometimes QA is not involved in the meetings about the design of the app and stuff like that. And this is actually problematic, because QA should be at least like some high level kind of discussions. They should be involved to understand what's going on. If there is no communication flowing, again, it leads to bugs, it leads to misunderstanding, it leads to any kind of issues. So this is really bad. Another thing is the lack of resources. So we have, let's say, feature that we're going to release in 2 weeks, and we have just one engineer testing everything on all platforms, let's say Windows, Mac, Android, iOS, all kind of things, and we're gonna implement like 10 new features, and we just have one QA engineer doing all that. It's obvious that it's gonna lead to bugs. Nobody in their right mind could test everything like that, especially if there is no automation written. How it's possible to actually do all that for one or two, even two QA engineers? In this case, we have lack of resources. We need to hire more resources to do testing, or actually maybe the other thing is maybe not enough engineers actually. That's why QA just overflows them with bugs. Engineers are not able to fix those. Engineers skip bugs. Engineers make some really weird solutions. They fix those bugs halfway or something. So this is really bad. The last point here is the software quality was not a focus. In some cases, it's also pretty frequent issue is that our software focus was somewhere okay, we're gonna develop this product in 2 weeks, and then just gonna for a couple of days we're gonna just leave it to QA, right? Because they most likely there will be no bugs, no point in giving them more time, no point of giving engineers more time to fix. In this case, this is the worst approach ever. It's no focus on QA. Of course, how are we gonna not leak bugs to production? It's obvious that we're gonna leak bunch of bugs to production, and very severe bugs. So in this case, of course, software quality should be focused always, and it should be the communication between QA team and engineering team always. So this is the things that I want to discuss today, guys. What I wanted to say is basically comes down to one sentence: quality is a collaborative effort. Everybody should be involved, everything should be discussed. It's not like you leave it to some just like couple of people and you just think that okay, it's gonna be all fine. No, it's not gonna be fine. There should be communication fixed between everybody on board. Nobody should be left behind. This is my message. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe, press the like button. There will be more interesting videos about the software testing, tech tutorials, and many interesting stuff. Also, please check out my article on Medium about the software testing. It has some interesting points out there as well. So thank you guys.